Now with you today is best-selling parenting author Michael Grose. Michael, today we're having a chat about children relaxing and unwinding. It's ironic that parents actually need to do this.
It is in this day and age that I always think that kids are the kings of play. It always comes naturally to kids. But they're very busy these days, and kids lead and parents lead very busy lives. So in lots of ways, mums and dads need to put some processes in place where kids do relax and unwind.
Is TV one of the ways that they can do that, or is that sort of
it's funny, the notion of TV, because when we sit our kids in front of the TV, sometimes we think of them as electronic babysitters, or we sometimes think you should be doing homework or something productive. But we all need to, what I call, stare into the fire at some stage and just relax and chill out. I know I certainly do. I love to sit down and watch some telly, and sometimes I don't even know what I'm watching. So one of the things that we can do with kids is allow them to sit down and just chill out and relax, and if TV is the way they do it, that's fantastic. Of course, if they're doing it for 3 or 4 hours at a time, that's not a great thing, but it's all in moderation.
And what are some other ways you think are the best way to help kids to relax and unwind at home?
I think we need to make sure that they're not too heavily scheduled, and kids often say that they're bored, and in some ways that's a good thing. What we often do as parents is we rush in and give them something to do. But the whole notion of boredom is really good for us, and it's good for kids, because when kids do get bored, they've got to look around and do things to occupy themselves. And we know that one of the best ways that kids can relax and unwind is when they're in control of their own play and their own time. So that notion, which we know that kids are starting to lose in this day and age, of how to keep yourself occupied. So keeping yourself occupied is another way we allow kids to relax and unwind.
And kicking the footy outside?
And that's often when parents can get involved as well. So another way you can help your kids unwind is you unwind yourself and do things that you enjoy with your kids. And for blokes, very much it's often being fairly active, particularly if you've got sons, they like to be active often with dads. So take the opportunity to do things that you really enjoy, because that'll make parenting better for you. It'll also help your kids' mental health, which is really important.
And how many is too many activities for kids to be doing these days?
That's a really good point. And I'm reluctant to say that kids should do 1, 2, 3, 4, because every child's different. I know in my family I've got 3 kids, and one of them has never got enough activity. She always wants to be busy. But I think if we're looking for some guidelines, is that we need to make sure that kids aren't doing things all the time, so they haven't got any time for themselves or any time for the family. So when you see kids' schedules are fairly well filled up and full, and they come home and say, look, Mum, I want to join another club, or I want to take up a musical instrument, what you might turn around and say is, okay, that's great, dear. However, what are you going to drop off? You've got a pretty busy schedule. You can hardly fit your homework in. You're stressing over that. So you need to drop something off. And that's a fantastic life skill which can help kids develop.
Is yoga and those sort of relaxation techniques good to introduce with children?
And more people are doing that. I'm glad you mentioned that. More people are doing that, or meditation. I actually introduced myself to meditation recently, and it's a fantastic way to relax and unwind. Now, my kids are older, but 2 of them are now doing it. And I know that you can do meditation and yoga with younger kids, particularly kids who get stressed, who get very anxious. Sometimes we need to do something a little bit special, a little bit different, a little bit higher than just play, for them to learn the skills of relaxing, unwinding, and also to empty your space.
Do you find that I've got 2 young boys and they're always on the go, active and racing around everywhere? What's some tips to give to help boys? My daughter seems to relax much more easily than my son.
Sometimes, in a way, that's the way sometimes boys relax. So it's not always about laying back and chilling out. It is just giving yourself an opportunity to unwind. However, if it is about slowing down, often it's looking around for places where boys will slow down. Sometimes they slow down when they're on their backs, which again is that TV space. When they're sitting around at home, perhaps reading a book in bed. I've always had with very active kids, I've had a no lights out policy. And one of the reasons why no lights out policy is good is that they actually will slow down. They'll sometimes lie on their bed, and often they'll read and just put themselves to sleep. And great. So that they actually do get into that unwinding. And I guess another way you can actually help your kids unwind is to having that relaxing bedtime. A nice routine about 45 minutes out, which is just chilling out. Sometimes it means turning the TV off, definitely computers off about half an hour before they go to bed. So they do start to unwind, and then their body learns that this is a time for relaxing and unwinding.
Yeah, and better sleep that then comes with that.
Well, sleep's really, really important. I mean, we talk about mental health and we talk about kids relaxing. What we do know is that many kids are sleep deprived.
Yeah.
We don't get as much sleep as we used to get in the past. And so particularly teenagers, but it's not just teens. So if you can help your kids get into good habits and good sleep habits, that's a really useful thing to do. And sometimes stressed kids just need more sleep.
Yeah, I noticed in your book you said that how older kids are like. Was there a school in America where the kids they're starting school later because the kids are sleeping in and not having as much sleep as?
Yeah, what we do know about adolescents, and we've learned a lot about sleep in the last 5 or 6 years. What we do know about adolescents is their sleep clock is pushed back by about 2 hours. In other words, they're very wakeful until about 10:30, 11 at night, and they want to be asleep around about 6:37 when we get them up.
Yeah.
And so there's a move, and in the United States, some of the states where they're starting school at 10:30 or 11, so that their learning is maximised, so that they're more awake in the afternoon. So there's a whole lot of issues around adolescence and sleep because of that sleep clock. But just a tip is, we're just simply, you can't put sleep in the bank. You can't say you've got a busy week, so therefore you're going to get a lot of sleep on Sunday night. It doesn't work that way. But what we can do is enable adolescents to sleep in one day of the weekend, so that they can just catch up on the sleep, and also to maximise their body sleep clock and to work with it, so that if sleepiness comes in at 10:30 or 11, don't fight that. Allow them to stay up that little bit later. Don't let them have caffeine half an hour beforehand. It's enable that body clock to actually start working for them. So don't fight the body clock, work with it.
Thanks, Michael. That's great advice. And for more information, have a look at Michael's new book, Thriving.